One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Is podcast editing totally overwhelming you? Like you are just ready to pull your hair out, trying to figure out all the things, all the buttons, all the do I need to do this? And how do I mix this? And what are these? I don't even understand because it's too overwhelming mixing tracks and figuring out interviews. Like I could go on and on about all the things that I see people complain about when it comes to podcast editing. Well, look no further, my friends. I am having a special workshop training in the month of February dedicated to podcast editing. Go to crystalprofit.com/workshop to learn more. Again, that's crystalprofit.com/workshop. I am so excited about today's podcast because we just got through talking about the best conferences of 2020 in the last episode. So if you haven't checked that out, then you need to go listen to that so you know all the cool things that are happening in 2020. But today is specifically about the Spark Christian Podcast Conference. Like I cannot wait to share with you all the juicy behind the scenes details and how this conference came into play. We're speaking with the organizer, the founder, like the woman that's pulling all the strings. Like I cannot wait to share with you all the amazing things that are going to happen at the Spark Christian Podcast Conference in just a few weeks. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? So like I said in the introduction, today I am sitting down and chatting with Misty Philip, who is the author of The Struggle is Real, but So is God. It is a Bible study, and it's such a cool story of how Misty and I met, and we'll get into all of that today. But I just have to tell you that I have seen so many really cool things happen in the last few weeks, in the last few months, and I am just in awe, honestly, of how everything has kind of folded together just so beautifully when it comes to Misty and everything that she's doing. So she has a podcast that is called By His Grace Podcast, and that's actually where we originally connected. We were going to the same podcast event here in Houston, and we ended up writing together and learning so much about each other. And she asked me to come speak at Spark, which is coming up February 21st and 22nd of 2020. And I just can't wait for you to learn more about Misty, because she is the visionary behind the Spark Christian Podcast Conference and the creator of the Spark Podcast Planner. I'm going to link to all of those in the show notes, but I just want to dive right into my interview with Misty. So here we go. All right, Prophet Podcast listeners, I'm so excited to bring to you today Misty Philip. So welcome to the show, Misty.
Hey, Crystal, thanks so much for having me on today.
Yes, this is so much fun. So quick backstory, Misty is local and she's actually been to my house. We've ridden in the car together. Like we know each other on like a super fun way. I'm so excited to be connected to other podcasters in the Houston area. But for people that aren't familiar about who you are and what you do, just fill us in on all the details.
Yeah. So, Misty Philip, I started out as with a blog and writing. I published a Bible study last year called The Struggle is Real, but So is God. And that coincided with the launch of my podcast, By His Grace. And I started to see the impact that my podcast was having, that I was able to reach people all over the world from my home, and that I could make a difference in the kingdom of God just where I was. And from there, that's where I got the vision for the Spark Christian Podcast Conference, because I thought, wouldn't it be so cool if I could gather Christians together in one space to be inspired, to start a podcast, to collaborate with one another, and to really multiply our effect in the kingdom.
That's so awesome. And I love, because this has been so fun. So for like a timeline reference, because this episode is airing in February of 2020, when did you have the idea to do the Spark Christian Podcast Conference?
Yeah, so that happened in the middle of October, and I traveled some in October and November, and then we had Thanksgiving, and then it was Christmas and the New Year. And now, February, the beginning of February, the conference is just a few weeks away. So it has been an incredible whirlwind and undertaking to put this on, but God has just shown up in such amazing ways. I can't wait to see how it all comes together.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm so excited because I have seen, because we met, maybe it was in September. I don't remember if it was in October or September when we actually met, and you reached out to me and asked me, hey, do you want to be part of this? Like I have this idea. And so I have literally seen the entire thing unfold, and Misty is a hustler, y'all. Like you give her an idea, and it's just like, you've just totally run with it. I'm so impressed by you. So I just want to acknowledge everything that you're doing. Like, it's just, you're doing it, girl. You're killing it. And I'm so excited for what Spark is going to be, because I know like this is just the first one, and I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for years to come. And I'm just so grateful to be like just part, like a little tiny piece and something that's going to have so much of an impact on people in the podcast community. So my question would be, who is this podcast conference for? Like, who is the ideal person that you see signing up for and registering for an event like this?
Yeah. So I think there's really three types of people. One is I've got a lot of author and speaker friends who I've met through my writing and through my speaking, and they have seen me with my podcast and they're interested in adding that to their marketing efforts. There are people who are, absolutely brand new that can say the word podcast and that is it. And then there are other people who've been podcasting for a while who want to make more connections. They want to take it to the next level. And then I've got experts coming to the conference that are there to teach and train and inspire and to network and to do all the things. So really this conference is for anyone who is a Christian, who's a believer, who has a podcasting message, whether that is a Christian podcast show, or it could be a show about fly fishing or homemaking or about anything, but that they are a Christian and want to meet other Christians who are doing this podcasting thing.
I love it. So it's not just for people who already have an established podcast and they have millions of downloads. Like, this is for anybody who is interested in learning. Like, I mean, and that's what I hear you saying is like, it's like there's different aspects of the journey. And what I love about you creating this conference and putting this entire event together is you've been through the whole journey, is what it's like to start and you're just like, where do I start? What do I do? And then you have the aspect of being a published author, and you have the aspect of reaching out to experts and networking. Like, y'all, I've never seen anybody more like you got the connections. Like, your networking game is so strong because you're just like, oh wait, hang on. Like, I've seen Misty post about the conference and then she'll say something and then she, someone reaches out and they're like, oh, well, my podcast is about this, or I'm interested in this. And she's like, oh, wait, hang on. I just messaged someone who can help you with that. So where does that come from? Is that just something that you've developed over the years? Or you just really like connecting people?
Yeah, I think it's really in my gifting and in my talents that the Lord has given me. So that's how this whole podcast conference was birthed, because I began praying about where my gifting and my calling intersected at this season of my life. And God put it on my heart to do the podcast conference. And I'm like, this makes total sense. I love to throw a party. I love to connect people. I love to resource people. And I always, when I meet somebody, I'm like, oh, you know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to this person. And so I am just a natural connector. And, not everybody, that's their gifting. And it's awkward for some people. And to me, I just love it. And I love seeing connections made. And I think it's just part of my gifting. And I would say one more thing, Krista, I'm sorry. There are other people who are coming to the conference who actually are not even interested in starting a podcast, but what their goal is they want to be a guest on other people's podcast. And so they want to meet and network with podcasters to help them become a more frequent guest. So that would be the other person that I wanted to mention, because, I've got people who are podcast enthusiasts who just love a podcast and want to support other Christians in podcasting who are coming. So yeah, it's going to be really all kinds of people.
Well, and I think I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because it's not just for people who are looking to start a podcast. It's for all aspects of the podcasting journey, whether you're a guest, you're a host, you just want to learn more about how the industry works. I'm sure there's some people coming that are just like, is this really what I want to do? Is this really the avenue I want to go down? And with that being said, I'd love it if you would share a little bit about, and like I said, I know Misty personally, so I've heard this story, but you had mentioned that your husband is the one that kind of nudged you in the direction of following the podcasting path, because you had other intentions. You were thinking, what was it? You were going to write another book? Like, tell us a little bit more about that part of your journey.
Yeah. So in the writing of my Bible study, I actually wrote another book that was sort of birthed out of it. And when I took it to the editor, she said, Misty, you've got two separate books here. And so I thought that that was my next step, which was to publish that next book. And yeah, my husband came to me with a really hard conversation and said, Misty, I think that you're flattered that you have an agent who's interested in working with you, but I really think that that's going to take you away from where God's calling you most right now, which is to share your messaging through podcasting. And so that's when I began asking the question, to him and to myself. And, I am not a podcasting expert. I don't claim to be a podcasting expert, but I thought I can bring experts and I can bring friends and I can bring other podcasters and I can bring us all together because that is definitely a skill that I have. And so, I'm hoping to learn more from the people at the conference and to collaborate and to teach people the things that I do know, because I have learned a lot in the short period of time. I've made a lot of mistakes in my podcasting, so I can definitely, bring somebody up along the way.
Oh, that's so good. And I love that you just share that vulnerable moment of like, hey guys, like I've made mistakes too, because I think that that's what, the people listening, they need to hear that from whoever. Like you could be 10 years doing this now and it's still refreshing to hear like, oh wait, yeah, you don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's not going to happen. But you mentioned, having these experts, and I know y'all, there's some rock stars coming to this conference. Like in the podcast world, we have some amazing, phenomenal speakers coming. So, Misty, can you tell us a little bit about what someone can expect if someone's listening and they're like, oh, I think I might want to try this out? Like, what are some of the things that they could expect if they decide to join us, and who's going to be speaking at the conference?
Okay, yeah. So we have it. The conference is going to be drinking from a fire hose. So you better come prepared to, because we start at the very beginning with Podcasting 101, and then every session builds on the next session. So Paul Hastings is going to kick off the conference. He's got a show called The Compelled Podcast. I've known him for years and years and years, and have watched him speak. He is just so energized. He's going to do an amazing job. Then we go into content creation, and we have Rob Kirkpatrick from Focus on the Family, who helps shape the content for Focus. So that is an amazing talk that he's going to give. Then we're going to do some fun things like speed networking, because I think that networking is so much an important part of the conference. And then we're going to get back down in our chairs, and then we're going to talk about the things that we need to do, our why. Like, why are we podcasting, and what do we do before we pick the mic up? Because the more that we can hone those ideas, the better off we will be once we start podcasting. And so that's Catherine Varner. Then we're going to go off site and have lunch and make new friends. And then we're going to come back, and we've got Travis Albritton from Buzzsprout, who is going to talk to us about understanding our analytics, because what do all those numbers mean anyway? And then a fun aspect of the conference is going to be a town hall. So people are able to submit questions ahead of time, and we're going to have a speed round of question and answer. And not only the panelists or the experts in the conference who are speaking will be able to answer those questions, but everybody, we've got a tossable mic that we're going to be able to throw around the room, and everybody who's going to get a chance to have a 2 minutes on the mic. So that'll be fun.
And that looks like a lot of fun, because I've seen this. I've seen a picture of this microphone or this, that she ordered, and it looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I went to the Hope Writers Conference last year, and I stole that idea from them, because it made it a lot of fun and get everybody engaged. And then we have expert panels on marketing and Oh my gosh, we have so much. Crystal, you're going to talk about starting and launching a podcast. We've got Quinn Heverin, who is going to do marketing and branding. We've got Thomas Umstadt, who's going to talk about editing, because editing is, and the production of a podcast is so important. I am so grateful that my husband does all of my producing for me, because he does an amazing job with that. Then Todd Cochran from Blueberry, he is going to talk to us about the RSS feed in the modern podcasting era. So he's one of those guys. And we also have Dave Jackson coming. Those guys are in the podcasting Hall of Fame.
That's
so they've
crazy.
been around to see the beginning of the podcasting journey all the way through. And then we've got, everybody wants to know, how do you grow your podcast? So we're going to do a panel that is just going to talk about that. We have another panel that is guest best practices. And then we're going to close out with our friend Ozeal, who is from Pod Houston, which is where we initially met. And he's going to close that out with, how do you build a community? Because once you start a podcast, you want to build a community around it. So we're literally going to touch on everything. So that's
I'm
the conference
so excited.
in a nutshell.
No,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it's a 2-day conference and it's just outside of Houston. And Misty, if someone's listening and they're like, I'm sold, I want to go, where can they find more information about this? Is there a specific URL? Do they need to find you on Facebook? What do people need to do?
Yeah. So I would say go to www. And this is very long, sparkchristianpodcastconference.com. So that there you will find the schedule, the speakers, you will find hotel information if you're coming from out of town, all of the things. You'll be able to buy tickets. I would urge you to hurry, because as of the recording of this podcast, we only have 25 tickets left available. So
you better get on it if you want it. Yeah. And we'll link to all of that in the show notes, because I know it's really important to see what's going on and when everything's happening. So I know, will the discount for the hotel, will that still be going on by the time in February?
They will let go of the block of rooms, I think February 1st. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So if there's any way for us to get the information out to your audience beforehand, that'd be great.
Okay.
Just so they can take advantage of that. Cause right now the rooms are only $89.
That's a steal.
So yeah, that we priced this conference very inexpensively to make sure that we could offer it to anyone who is interested in coming. Because for me, I love going to conferences, but that can really add up in terms of your travel and hotel. And so we worked really hard to make this an amazing, affordable event.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Well, I'm so excited. So as Misty said, I'm going to be talking about launching, but y'all, I'm going to go to Target and grab some notebooks. I'm going to be ready to take some serious notes whenever I'm there, because how often are you going to have so many amazing minds in one place, and not only that, but it's like, I've seen the schedule and Misty is opening with prayer. She's closing with prayer. And I love the idea of being in such a place with like-minded people who are they were just gifted with a servant's heart and being able to help other people generously and not in like a salesy kind of way and not in a way where they're just looking at you like, oh, this is going to affect my bottom dollar. No, people are there to genuinely help you grow your audience, grow your message, launch your podcast, and they are there for you because they have this calling on their heart to serve other people. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you've done a fantastic job selecting all the people that are coming. I'm excited to take notes and to learn more because, yes, I'm a podcast educator. I have this podcast and I've been doing this for a while, but I'm constantly learning. Like, do you find how long have you had your podcast now?
Yeah. So I actually I batch recorded my episodes in the summer of 2018. But with my very busy schedule with putting out a book and all of the things I was doing, I actually didn't launch until January of 2019. So it's just been a little over a year and I've learned so much in that year because I didn't even know what I didn't know when I started.
Right.
But one of the things I was going to add is that we also have I went to a conference recently and I saw the speakers on the stage and I thought, wow, if I could just get 15 minutes in front of this person to talk to them about where I'm stuck, or just ask them like, how did you take that next step or where did you go? And so one of the things that we're offering at the conference is 15-minute appointments with you and some of the other people in the conference just to get that one-on-one attention. Because sometimes we just, we've done a great job with a lot of things, but we might have a blind spot that we need somebody else to show us, or we just need to know, okay, I've done it this far. Like, where do I go from here? What do I need to plan on for the future? So we that available. We also have literary appointments. So if you're interested in writing a book, this is a gem of a secret because a lot of times you go to big writing conferences and there's limited appointments. But since I have a lot of friends who are authors and speakers, I wanted to offer that. We've got the Blythe Daniels Agency who is coming. Blythe and Stephanie Alton will both be on hand to take appointments. And then we're also doing professional headshots because when you are online, you need to have a professional presence when you do your podcast artwork. That image needs to be good. And so I'm really big on branding. And so my photographer that I've used for all of the things, who is amazing, she is going to do, not only is she going to photograph the conference for us, she is also doing headshots. So we've got a lot of really great, fun add-ons that are priced really super affordable as well.
Well, I just love everything that you just listed, Misty. I'm thinking of hundreds and thousands of dollars. And it, like she said, it is a super affordable price. Like, it's something that if you are brand new to podcasting, you can still afford to go to this conference. And I highly encourage you to join us because who knows what it's going to be next year. I mean, I'm hoping that this Spark conference really takes off. And it's something where Misty's like, you know what, guys, like, we had to up our ante. Like, we just were totally blown away by the response because everyone had such an amazing time. This is my wish for this conference. And I'm just so excited. Is there anything else that we need to know about the conference? But if someone's like kind of wavering, they're on the edge, they're like, I really want to go, but I just don't know. Maybe I should just wait until next year. Like, what would you say to someone who is just on the fence and kind of nudge them to make that commitment?
Yeah, I can say from personal experience of the conferences that I have attended in the past, like She Speaks or the Declare Conference or the Blue Ridge Writing Conference or the Hope Writers Conference, lots and lots of conferences. But the thing that I can say is that those are the people who have surrounded me and have encouraged me and have helped me. The people that I've met there have helped me take my career to the next level. And, there's just something really special about being in the room with someone. So I've been a part of online trainings and summits, and I love those, and I think they have their place because we can't always go and travel across the country. But the reason that I wanted to host a live event is because I think that there is something very special that happens when we're face to face, and the conversations that are going to be sparked at Spark and just where they will go. That's another reason why I wanted to host it in a hotel, so that we could linger. If you wanted to hang out late into the night, you don't have to go far to your bedroom. Or if you're a morning person, you want to get up early and meet a friend that you would never have the chance to sit across from. Like, I want to make those connections. And so I think that, that is the biggest takeaway, because there's one thing when you're friends with somebody online, it is you just take it to the next level when you make that personal connection. And so the training, the connections, just all the things, it's going to be amazing.
Yes. And just a little side note, because we're locals, y'all, there's some amazing restaurants not far from the hotel. They're like Chewy's. If you're not familiar with it, it's fantastic Tex-Mex. I love it. And it's one of my favorite restaurants. And I'm like, it's right around the corner, literally right around the corner. So I'm super excited about that. I will get my chips and salsa fix while we were there at some point. But Misty, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge. I will make sure to link all of the guests, the Spark Christian Conference, Misty's podcast, and her book if you want to check it out. And I'm so excited, y'all. If you are thinking about it, I encourage you to join us at Spark, because it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Misty.
Yeah. And I would just add that for those of you who listen to the Profit Podcast, Crystal has a discount code for y'all to get 20% off. So make sure that you get that code from Crystal and use that to take advantage of those savings.
Oh, I forgot about that. Thank you very much, Misty, because I forgot about that. Yes, I'm going to link to that in the show notes for sure. And actually, do we still have the tips? Didn't we have?
Yeah. So, and those are free on the Spark Christian Podcast.com website. When you go to register, you will see a place that you can download those tips. And I'm also putting them out on social media so they can follow Spark Christian Podcast in all the places too.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Misty, again, for all of your wisdom. And I can't wait to see what it sparks in the podcast community. So cheesy, but I had to say it. Y'all, I hope that you enjoyed getting to know more about the Spark Conference and Misty and just her vision behind bringing educators and podcasters and all kinds of people together for the mission of serving others and just having a vision of sharing your message with the world that I believe is a God-given message. And I know we normally don't get into a lot of religious things on the podcast, but today was so special. And I hope that you enjoyed learning about everything that's been going on behind the scenes of the Spark Conference. And I look forward to sharing with you my experience whenever it's all said and done, because it's coming up in a few weeks and I'm really excited. If you are coming to the conference, let me know. Send me an email, shout it out on social media, tell me, DM me, PM me, all the things, right? There's a million different ways for you to connect with me, to connect with me, but I want to know. I want to know if you're coming. That way I can make time and be very intentional to connect with people in this community that are coming to the Spark Conference, because it's going to be so much fun. But like I said, you can find the links for everything in the show notes of today's episode, crystalprofit.com/episode 125. But that does it. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called fan mail shout outs, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of fan mail shout outs.